Yes,
The
sir.
topic of my presentation is osteoarthritis of the knee, changing pathogenesis and emerging new targets of therapy. Friends, all of us are surgeons, but here is an unusual paper where I want in knee osteoarthritis surgery to be deferred for the time being, if it is possible. So all of us are aware that osteoarthritis was being talked in terms of converting it to osteoarthrosis till the discovery of inflammatory theory came in 1990s and profoundly modified understanding of osteoarthritis pathogenesis because there were progress in molecular biology, and so this inflammatory theory was discovered, where there were many soluble mediators such as cytokines or prostaglandins which increase the production of matrix metalloproteases by chondrocytes. But in spite of this theory in 1990, this was not digested, not accepted till 2000. But later on, it was realized that synovitis is a part of osteoarthritis. It is a critical feature and driver of osteoarthritic process. Now, the subchondral bone in the whole pathogenesis becomes so very much important. The subchondral bone acts as a mechanical damper. It also is a source of inflammatory mediator production, which are implicated in osteoarthritis pain process, in degradation of deep layer of the articular cartilage also. This subchondral bone has a role. Well, initially considered cartilage-driven, osteoarthritis is much more a complex disease, and the inflammatory mediators are released not only by cartilage, but also bone and synovium. Now, this synovial inflammation is now definitively known that it can be present in osteoarthritis also, and could at times be indistinguishable from rheumatoid arthritis. But there are important differences. Macrophages are predominant in osteoarthritis, whereas in rheumatoid arthritis, it is the T and B cells which predominate. In osteoarthritis, the pro-inflammatory mediator includes cytokines and chemokines. Friends, whatever treatment is available for osteoarthritis of the knee, they have not been effective in either slowing the disease or arresting the disease. So a question arises, can emerging therapy make the change? Friends, we have invariably been looking at patients undergoing a heart failure, a chronic heart failure, if not an acute one. So there is a similarity with osteoarthritis, and I say that osteoarthritis is nothing but a synovial joint failure which goes through 5 phases. Number 1 is articular cartilage surface fibrillation. The second stage is osteophyte formation. Third stage, as I said, subchondral bone sclerosis. The fourth one is chronic inflammatory response, and the fifth one is driving human osteoarthritis to finally synovial joint failure. Well, what we desire in a case of osteoarthritis, so initiation of emerging specific therapy to forestall progression of osteoarthritis to synovial joint failure. So again a question, can we decelerate the osteoarthritic process? Well, the upcoming targets for osteoarthritis treatment, where do they work? They target the cartilage, number 2, subchondral bone, the inflammatory processes, the pain processes, metabolic syndrome, and senescence and aging. Friends, at the very outset, I must make it clear that adalimumab, etanercept, infliximab, they are not effective in osteoarthritis knee. Also, hydroxychloroquine is not effective in especially knee osteoarthritis. So the disease-modifying osteoarthritis drugs, they modify the underlying osteoarthritis pathophysiology. No DMOAD is approved yet by US FDA or European Medical Association, but DMOADs are under various phases of trials, and these are the drugs sprifermin, SMO 04690, which has now become available in the market in the name of lorisibhivint, tissue gene C, teriparatide, we have been talking just in our previous osteoporosis lecture. So this also has come to stay as a treatment for osteoarthritis, most probably because it will be tackling the osteoporosis component. Anakinra, which is IL-1 receptor antagonist, and cathepsin K inhibitor. Friends, according to US FDA and EMA, approval of DMOAD requires inhibition of loss in knee or hip joint space width on plain radiograph with relevant symptomatic relief. Now, what are the various products which can be used intra-articularly apart from what we routinely have been using? So sprifermin is a fibroblast growth factor. Botox, which has been used by orthopedic surgeons in treatment of cerebral palsy, can also give good results if used intra-articularly. Luckily, capsaicin intra-articular of late has been found to give encouraging results. Low molecular weight human serum albumin in the name of Ampion also gives good results, and a nerve growth factor, tanezumab 3, also is helpful. Now, topically, synthetic cannabinoid can be used in transdermal method. Orally, cathepsin K inhibitor. Mind you, cathepsin K is secreted by osteoclast for bone matrix resorption. So, cathepsin K inhibitor will help. Odanacative, balicative, medivor, etc. are also helpful, but the complications could be in the form of stroke, atrial fibrillation, or atypical fracture. The new intra-articular local anesthetic, of which Dr. Amarnath himself is a great fan, is Prilocaine. Now, what happens is that routinely used bupivacaine, they can be potentially chondrotoxic, and the hyaluronic acid is in combination with Prilocaine are available in Western markets and will be available very shortly in India also. So Prilocaine is less toxic in higher doses than lidocaine, released quickly from the inventive composition. It ensures a rapid onset of its beneficial action. It is highly stable after injection, and pharmaceutical acceptable salt of Prilocaine is hydrochloride. Now, friends, there are two things which has happened in recent advances. Number one, introduction of new therapeutic agents, and number two, introduction of evolution of sophisticated drug delivery system. So what are the new therapeutic targets? WNT signaling pathway, which WNT signaling pathway stimulates production of catabolic proteases. This is implicated again in matrix degradation. So this evolution of a small molecule inhibitor of WNT pathway will deserve our attention, and loresivivint can be used intra-articular, which again is WNT pathway inhibitor. So this has a disease-modifying possibility effect and might cause cartilage regeneration and protection from cartilage catabolism. claims of significant difference in joint space width as well. So if a product is available which can regenerate the cartilage, you can understand the consequences that intra-articular injection, joint replacement can be delayed. Now, the second thing, introduction of evolution of sophisticated drug delivery system. Now, declining analgesic effect of regular intra-articular glucocorticoid takes place within 2 to 4 weeks. All orthopedic surgeons are using intra-articular glucocorticoid. So to prolong the action of glucocorticoid, there is introduction of a new delivery system which goes by the name of PLGA. Now, this is called repurposing the older drug. So technologically, this is an advancement in targeted delivery approach, and this is FDA approved. Now, there was very recently a conference by American Academy that GILRATA, they named the whole conference as GILRATA conference, and it is nothing but an extended release formulation of synthetic triamcinolone acetonide in PLGA microspheres, maintains concentration in joint for several months after a single dose, very important, and greater pain relief lasts for 5 to 10 weeks. Friends, I often keep on saying that, may I say that in coming 50 years, joint replacement may be a topic of the past. Well, I say this because first arthritis gene therapy Invosa has been there in the market and has been produced by South Korean Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. Approval is there. This is an alternative way to expedite the treatment. In vivo gene delivery by direct intra-articular injection of a friendly adeno-associated virus is given. This transduces synovial lining cells as well as chondrocytes throughout thickness of the articular cartilage. Considerable advantage in which again chondrocyte dysfunction has a key role, and this virus is safe, effective, and less immunogenic. Friends, in the end, I would like to overemphasize that there is another silver lining in sulfasalazine and the small molecules. So sulfasalazine and even tofacitinib, the small molecule, effects on the protein profile of articular chondrocytes. This has opened up new vista in the management of osteoarthritis. Novel functional aspect of tofacitinib is that they claim to promote cartilage extracellular matrix generation, ECM regeneration, and thereby inhibits osteoarthritis development. Well, intra-articular small molecule is known as BNTA, which is effective, and this increases cellular levels of adenosine, known for having anti-inflammatory activity through down-regulation of AMPD2. So sulfasalazine, a very basic drug, cheaper also. So the mode of action is that it inhibits tumor necrosis factor. It may reduce secretion of inflammatory cytokines such as interleukin 8 and may suppress B cell function as well. Well, friends, sulfasalazine has antibacterial effect, like these patients may have gut inflammation, so the bacterial count in the gut also becomes less, and it may be because of prostaglandin sparing effect through inhibition of prostaglandin activity. Now, it can have anti-inflammatory effect, it can have immunomodulatory effect as well. So friends, finally, I would like to conclude that with the changing pathogenesis of osteoarthritis from being non-inflammatory to being inflammatory, there is introduction of new therapeutic agent, loresivimab, which inhibits the WNT pathway, introduction of evolution of sophisticated drug delivery system, PLGA, and So the extended release formulation Gilreta, which is synthetic triamcinolone, is there, which is effective for many, many months. And intra-articular gene therapy in VOSA is so very revolutionary. The small molecules targeting bone remodeling raises hope for treating not only osteoarthritis but osteoporosis as well, because it regenerates both bone and articular cartilage. In the end, friends, I would like to read a stanza from Future Drug Discovery, which has been written in a guest editorial in 2019 by Charles J. Melmood. What he concludes, however, I believe at this time that one thing is certain. It was previously proposed that since many of the cellular events characteristic of rheumatoid arthritis overlap at some times with those in osteoarthritis, why not use these accumulated successes in the drug therapy of rheumatoid arthritis to treat osteoarthritis? So friends, we can draw a parallelism between pathogenesis of osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis and employ our therapeutic tools to treat and to slow down osteoarthritis. Thank you very much.